Now, back to Willard and Dibs on 95.7 The Game.
Okay, real excited about this. Willard and Dibs brought to you by your Northern California Toyota dealer, and cleared to play in exactly an hour. The latest on the injuries in the Bay. But a big day yesterday for one of the best out there. Mike Silver joining the Volume Sports, back at it with a brand new NFL show, the platform that Colin Cowherd fronts. So first and foremost, as Mike joins us here on Willard and Dibs, hey man, congrats.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Colin's really, really great, and I say that in terms of describing him off the air as well. So I'm super excited to be involved with his venture, and we're going to get really, really compelling and cool, mostly NFL luminaries, I would say. It's been suggested that a certain basketball coach near and dear to the hearts of listeners might get involved at some point. But, yeah, we're just going to get interesting people and let it rip, and I'm really, really pumped about it.
Is it going to be like weekly? Is it going to be as frequently as you need it to be? How can we get comfortable consuming this content of yours?
Great question.
Thank you.
Well, and Colin's vision is just get people, and we'll put it on YouTube, we'll put it on iHeart, we'll put it on Spotify, Apple, et cetera. So we came out of the gates, as fate would have it, with Sean McVay and C.D. Lamb, so 2 episodes. So I know those are both out there now. And, yeah, I think it's rather than peg it to a day or a specific release time, I think it's going to be more of a function of who we get when. But you know me, I've already got some big names in the works, and there are a whole lot of 49er people on that list, by the way. So we'll get them out, and however you can subscribe or do that type of thing, that will keep you in the loop.
Excellent. Mike Silver, Volume Sports. And by the way, I was going to say, when you said Colin is great, I'm like, yeah, he's great, but he's no Steve Kerr. Am I right, Mike? Like before we get into the NFL, can we get a little something from you on the last couple of weeks of his life?
Yeah, we can talk about that indefinitely, by the way. That's a great subject. And listen, it definitely upsets me that not only is he, the all-time leader in three-point shooting percentage and a 5-time NBA champion as a player, and now clearly a Hall of Fame coach with 4 titles and 6 finals appearances, et cetera, but he's also really good at sports journalism. And, I co-wrote a sports column with him for our high school paper. I think he preceded me at Yahoo Sports as a columnist. He obviously has been a great broadcaster. So, I wish I could lord something over him, but even in that realm, he's pretty good. But no, this has been really cool. And, I was talking about this with someone around the time they got down 2-1. And, privately, Steve and I were having a lot of, good text conversations, and he was good. But I just told someone, the most fun I've had during this run is when he and his staff have to problem solve, because they're just so good at it. And, we've been blown away at times by Steph and Kevin Durant and Draymond and Clay and all the great players they've had. And obviously they deserve the bulk of the credit. But there have been a lot of tense moments that they've had to coach their way out of. And if you really break down the last, during that 8-year run, those are some of my favorites, dating back to 2015 when they went down 2-1 to Memphis, and he resurrected David Lee and got the pick and roll going and fought his way out of that series. And they were down 2-1 to the Cavs, and they came out with the death lineup and figured that out and won in 6. Obviously, they've had playoff series with Steph hurt, with KD hurt. They had to beat Houston in 2018 and 19 in really tough circumstances. That incredible Looney game in 2019 in Game 6. And then really 2016 was one of my favorite seasons. And, I know it leaves a sting, but that's one of the reasons I just never understood the whole blew a 3-1 lead thing and the the kind of rancid Cleveland fan mantra. Instead of celebrating their one championship in any sport ever in decades, they turned it into that. And I just thought, as someone who grew up rooting for the Warriors and obviously cares a lot about Steve, I was just so blown away that they got to that point where they were in those finals. If you think about what they had to get through, and obviously, especially the Oklahoma City series, down 3-1, the incredible Clay shooting at the end of Game 6, a tense Game 7. So I just, when they got down 2-1, as daunting as it seemed on paper, I just figured this is Steve at his best. They will problem solve. They will fight their way out of this. And obviously, as Steve would be the first to tell you, it sure helps when you have I'll say the word Jordan-esque figure leading all of it. But that's my very long opening answer about what we've been watching the last couple of weeks.
No, you make me not want to talk NFL at all with you, by the way. And I know you.
We don't have to. We do not have to.
No, I mean seriously. If you could promise us you'll come back on, then I could spend this whole time talking Warriors, because I said to Mike, about 4 months ago that if they do this title this time, it's the Steve Kerr masterclass. So when you look at these Kerr moves, especially throughout the playoffs, was there one that stood out where you thought that's problem solving at its highest level?
I think some of it, sometimes it's things he tries that maybe don't work out awesome, but just shake it up, right? Like they started Otto Porter, who had looked so good in Game 1 and at various times throughout the season of playoffs, and it didn't go so great when he was out there. They kept starting him, by the way. It just shook things up a little. But I think he just has such a good feel, both in terms of strategic adjustments. And you saw how they reacted to Boston's moves. Boston obviously came out with a plan to defend Steph in the first quarter of Game 1 that was maybe a little deficient. So Boston adjusted, and the Warriors had to adjust off that. But, I thought there were a lot of little strategic wrinkles. But then, I also just love the way that he is able to reach them and keep things, positive at times where other coaches might, be prone to, more draconian vibes. And, obviously the relationship with Draymond Green is so fascinating. He clearly is there. It has so much to do with their emotional makeup. I thought his Game 6 was a masterpiece. I think it's one of the greatest games in a clincher that anyone's ever played, seriously. But obviously in Game 4, it just wasn't looking awesome. And, he had the conviction to ride Looney in those late moments, and that was clearly the right call, too. So, the fact that he's forged these relationships and that environment for so long, that there is all this mutual trust, gives all of them the leeway in the heat of battle to kind of fight their way through some rough spots. And, I just never, I don't know, I never understood. I went to Game 1, and, when I got home, I was texting Steve, and he had the same reaction I did, which made me feel better, which was, if those guys are going to go 15 for 23, like, whatever, throw up my hands. I mean, those guys didn't miss from 3, especially at the end. So that didn't seem significant to me, though I thought Boston was really, really good. I didn't get to see Game 3 much. I was at dinner with a former NFL coaching great in a different city, and I kind of caught the end. But then there was just this whole narrative that, well, Boston only can lose if they screw up. Otherwise, they're the better team. And I'm thinking, are they? Because they don't seem like killers to me. They lost Game 5 at home to Milwaukee. They lost Game 6 badly at home to Miami with a chance to clinch. They almost blew an 11-point lead in the closing minutes against Miami in Game 7. I'm like, they're really good. Are they killers? And what you saw in Game 4 was a team of killers, and one of the greatest killers we've seen on the hardwood, who is deceptively slight and just a little bit taller than me and Steve, who I had to guard on the playground way back when. But anyone who is underestimating what we saw in that game and in that series outside of the Bay Area, because I think we all get it, is just missing the point. And honestly, by the third quarter of Game 4, when I saw what Steph was doing, I was very calm and felt like this is going to end great.
Volume Sports Warriors beat writer Mike Silver with us here on 95.7 The Game. You're crushing it with this, but you're too good on the NFL to not get some questions in, Mike. So, you mentioned maybe a lot of 49er people who are on your list. I would love to hear you speak to the story that has unfolded from the end of the playoffs to now, which is, did the 49ers mess things up with Jimmy Garoppolo? Was it just the shoulder? And now all of these takes on, Trey Lance is going to be the next big thing, all the way over to the other side, which is, Trey Lance is he just doesn't have it. From what you know, how would you describe the gap at the 49er quarterback position, the gap between what people say and what's actually happened?
Wow, that's a long question, or it's a lot. I have a long answer, but first of all, let me remind people that the Warriors just won their 4th NBA championship in 8 years, guided by the brilliant coaching of Steve Kerr. I wasn't really done. I just could say that every day for, a long time. I just, as far as Jimmy, Jimmy has not been someone, even in normal times, and these are not normal times, who has been a great communicator in the off season with the powers that be, right? So they don't usually necessarily know what's up with Jimmy, and obviously him having the shoulder surgery discouraged some interest. I talked yesterday to an executive of one team that clearly is in the market still for a quarterback, so that narrows it down considerably. And he said the surgery still just scares people in the front office, to the point where I don't think we're going to be players. And so that's not something to be underestimated. Obviously, what they gave up to get Trey Lance, now that's a separate conversation, whether when Kyle made the trade he was eyeballing Trey Lance or not, because I'm on record as saying that I don't think he was. But be that as it may, what they gave up to get Trey Lance suggests that you got to go to him. They don't know, they don't really know what Trey Lance is, right? The Jets don't really know what Zach Wilson is. The Patriots don't really know what Mac Jones is. It's an anomaly when you do. The Chargers knew that Justin Herbert was legit very, very quickly. But for the most part, you usually don't find out that quickly. So you would think with what they have committed to get him that they have to find out now. I think the push and pull there is that they clearly have a team built to win now, that, this is the window, and they were very, very close, arguably a dropped interception away from at least getting to the Super Bowl last year. And, if you believe that there's a chance he's not going to be good enough, Trey Lance, then, we have Jimmy here, and we still control his rights, and he's been pretty good. So you wonder if there's some, voice in the back of Kyle's mind that's thinking, maybe I should hedge and find a way to just not move Jimmy since teams aren't coming up to get him. Now, Jimmy can do some things on his end to force that issue, I believe. And then there's the whole, if they cut him late or ask him to take a pay cut late, how much money is he leaving on the table in that scenario? So I think all of that is in play. But it's not like Jimmy and Kyle or Jimmy and, the other coaches are talking every day. A lot of this is happening, with kind of a cone of silence.
Right, and at a glacial pace until the rubber hits the road. Could one of those covetous teams be the Cleveland Browns, considering where they might be with Deshaun Watson? Mike, how does this work itself out? He settled 20 suits, but the scepter of future jurisprudence still hangs above him.
Yeah, it's a fair question. They obviously made the trade, the Browns, knowing that he might not be available right away. We don't know exactly how long it's going to be till he's free and clear. It doesn't seem like the Browns and Baker are going to patch things up to the point where Baker would just hang out and be the guy at the start of 2022. They do have Jacoby Brissett, who, by the way, looked pretty good at times when he relieved Tua, which is a whole other subject in Miami. I think they feel reasonably comfortable with him. But yeah, if you start looking at the dominoes, let's say Jimmy's not going to Seattle unless they cut him, because the 49ers probably wouldn't do that. So let's say Carolina is the team that gets Baker, and now you're the Browns, you're the Seahawks. The Seahawks are like, okay, we got Drew Lock and Geno Smith fighting it out. Maybe they're content to rebuild a little, even though Pete Carroll is, very, very old by coaching standards. And so if you're Cleveland, what do you do? But I don't get the sense that they're desperate to worry about, let's say it's 8 games. I don't think that's a desperate situation for them. And then remember, they gave Deshaun Watson guaranteed money. They still owe Baker guaranteed money, unlike the 49ers, who can get out of their deal with Jimmy. And so are you going to now pay a third guy? You're going to pay potentially 3 quarterbacks in 1 year. And part of the holdup with getting rid of Baker for the Browns is that they're trying to get whoever takes him to pay a legitimate share of that money to get them off the hook. And there are a lot of owners I've talked to who are like, we don't want to let them off the hook because we're mad that they gave that guaranteed deal to Deshaun Watson, who has all this hanging over his head, by the way, and set that precedent. And so we're not going to help you when it comes to Baker. So it's a very interesting set of affairs when you throw that into it.
Mike, great stuff. Thank you so much for doing it. Congrats again on the new spot there with Volume Sports. Great to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I just wanted to remind people that the Warriors are NBA champions.
Nice.
In case you started to forget.
The confetti has not made it all the way out of our laundry yet, but the reminder is always well taken.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. There he goes. All right. Mike Silver right here on Willard and Dibs at 95.7 The Game.